Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schillenstein. I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And holy smokes, what a last crazy couple weeks it's been, right? I feel like I was on last week talking to you about the three things you can work on during the pandemic: mindset, money management, and basically business systems. And it just feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better for everybody. And I think it's going to cause a massive reorientation of philosophy, business structure, especially in dentistry. And it's a scary time right now. I understand that. It's also an exciting time in the grand scheme of things, because I think there's going to be some amazing opportunities that come out of this for dentists that really want to kind of differentiate themselves. And it's also going to cause a lot of just career orientation and a lot of questions that I think, dentists are going to be asking themselves about the life they're living, the practice they're creating. How do they best want to serve their patients going forward? I think it's just it's a very interesting time, and I think you should be asking those questions. And, you guys know, I've been doing, I've been a practice owner for, it was almost 8 years, and I had sold my practice 2 weeks before this kind of all happened. And, some people say, "Are you Nostradamus? How did you know this was going to happen? How did you sell your practice 2 weeks before?" And the reality is my practice had been listed for over a year. So I just happened to be able to make that happen before this whole thing happened. Or I'd be right in it with you. I'd be that practice owner that's trying to figure out how do I keep my team happy throughout this process. And the reality is you probably are not going to keep your team happy. But I think at this point, even your teams know that it's beyond your control. You have to understand that. I mean, your team members know that this is something much larger than just your dental practice. And we're all feeling it. And, there's measures that are out there to take care of your team, because there's measures that are being implemented to help try to take care of you as a business owner. I've seen a lot of credit card companies delaying payments so you don't have to worry about it, reducing interest rates, not charging interest at this time. I'm seeing mortgage forgiveness. Small business loans are becoming available. Low interest loans are becoming available. There's a lot of things that are going to happen, because the reality is the economy just can't stop. And if the economy does stop, it's, there's financial repercussions across the entire global economy. So, you have to have faith that if you keep doing the right things, you keep focusing on the right things, it's going to work out. But with that being said, I'm here to give you any support that I possibly can. And, I'd recorded my podcast episode about the three things you can work on: mindset, money management, and business systems. And it's interesting. One of my fellow Procter Gallagher Institute consultants had reached out to me. She actually wants me to come on and do a 1-hour webinar for a company that I've never heard of before, but it's I guess it's similar to Procter & Gamble here in the States, but it's in Europe. So I'll be doing a 1-hour webinar with, I think, 4 other providers about how to kind of handle this pandemic, and how do you come out ahead. And obviously when I'm doing this webinar, I was thinking to myself, I was looking at kind of the other titles for the subjects, and there was some really deep detail in terms of things that are more technical in nature, and those things are very important. But she wanted me to lead it off because I think I'm looking at it from a little bit bigger picture. What does the grand scheme of all this look like? And the reason I brought this podcast, I wanted to record this one really quick for you guys, is it goes back to something I put in my Facebook group for my clients. And I don't know if it came through. Sometimes lives are a little bit tough because, you got a 5-minute discussion about something, and, you're trying to get your point across, but not get bogged down. And People are fearful right now, and rightfully so. I get it. I understand it. But you can't let that fear dictate your response. And it's easier said than done, right? It's like everything you see right now. Just have the positive mindset, and it's going to be great. There's a couple things with that. One, just a positive mindset and a positive thought pattern with a negative emotional response will not lead you to a result that you want. Just that's cut dry, point blank, whatever you say. Like, you can't think positively but feel negatively and then expect a positive result. The emotional response is actually the driver for the behavior. So you can think positively, but if you're feeling negative, you're going to take actions that are more consistent with the negative emotion than the positive thinking. And so you're going to end up getting a negative result, which actually hurts the positive thinking, because now you're thinking positively, but you're getting a negative result. So you're thinking that positive thinking doesn't actually work. So I hope you could follow that through my podcast. So there's a couple things you can do, though, to switch your emotional state from negative to positive. And without necessarily going deep diving into the mindset component, which can take, for some clients, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, years and years and years to shift yourself from a negative orientation to a positive orientation. So I wanted to give you a quick tip on this one, because I do think that this is actually going to be really vital for you. Dentists are trying to figure out how to work on their business systems right now. I see this over and over and over again. Hey, I'm going to start to work on some of the stuff that I haven't had time to do, and I'm going to start to put policies in place. And I've heard a lot of that. And that's fantastic. But you have to understand that in order to do those things effectively, you need to be coming from a creative orientation. And a creative orientation is basically you define your current reality where you're at, you define your vision for where you want to go, and then you create an inevitable gap between your current reality and your vision. And then that gap represents the opportunity for you to create something new to move you towards your vision. Now, in order to go through what is called the creative process, which is what I just laid out, you also have to be in an emotional state that allows you to have ideas come freely to you. And when you get into a fearful state, those ideas do not come freely. And in fact, it's very difficult to create anything of value when you're living from fear and anxiety and stress. So you might be asking yourself, how could I possibly create business systems then that are consistent to where I want to go, and not business systems that are reacting to the fear that I'm currently experiencing? That should be the question you're asking. And it's a great question. And the reality is you can't create business systems based on the vision that you want to try to achieve when you're reacting from the fear of things that you do not want. You will actually create more business systems and policies that are fear-based rather than moving you towards your vision. Because I'm assuming that on the end of this, eventually what will happen is people will get back to their normal routine, and dentistry will still be needed, and people will want it more than ever. And you have to have a business and a practice that is built in a way that people will be willing to come and see you and fly all over the country. Virtual consults are being talked about all over the place right now. That's the thing to do. And there's like 9 different software programs that all do something very similar. People are going to set up virtual consults with you, but they're going to make sure that they come to you if there's a reason to come to you. And in order to build a practice that people will literally fly and come see you, you have to be vision-based dentists. You cannot be fear-based dentist. Okay? So if you're reacting from a place of fear and trying to work on your business systems right now, it will not work. And so what you have to do is shift that fear-based emotion to a positive-based emotion. And the one secret ingredient to be able to do that, the one thing that works more than anything else, is gratitude. Now, I know people talk about gratitude all the time. It's an overplayed idea, but there's some scientific reasons and some proven reasons why gratitude works so well. Without getting really deep into the science behind it, just understand that your emotional response can't be in 2 places at the same time. So if you are feeling gratitude, it is impossible to feel fear. I ask you to think about this. When you are feeling a state of gratitude, when you are thankful for the things you have and you live in that emotional moment, you are not fearful at that time. You can't be fearful and practice gratitude at the same time. So if you are living in a state of fear, but you know where you want to go, your vision, the simplest thing you can do to start to get you more towards the vision of what you're trying to achieve is practice a simple act of gratitude when you start to feel that fear-based response. And the easiest way to do that is literally write down 3 things, 1 thing, 10 things, it doesn't matter. But write down 3 things, for example, of things that you're grateful for. Now, here's the key. Emotionally practice what that feeling of gratitude is like. And so every time you feel a fear-based response, practice gratitude. Every time. And it might be consistently. And the only thing you work on for 2 days is practicing gratitude when you feel a fear-based response. Okay? Because it's very common right now to feel that fear-based response, but you have habituated most likely that fear response to anything of any challenge that you're experiencing, and you don't want to normalize that as the normal response. You want to normalize gratitude and profound feelings of euphoria and just thankfulness for what you have in those challenging times, because it's going to open up the creative flow so that you can create more of what you want. So if you feel fear-based, gratitude. 3 things you're grateful for. Practice the emotional response. You know what gratitude feels like. You feel that immense sense of thankfulness. And then immediately shift over to the vision of what you're trying to create, and then start to work on the creative process again. And if you immediately feel fear, you go right back to the gratitude thing. People are not getting this. They're not understanding it. It's not simply reading a positive quote, living in fear and trying to create what they want. They have to habituate that feeling of gratitude day in and day out. If you watch the most successful creators of personal growth and development or habit-based patterns, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, all of these guys, they live from a profound state of gratitude all the time. And so what happens is a lot of opportunities that we normally wouldn't see, they see happening before their eyes on a continual basis because they are living in a state of gratitude. I encourage you, there is a chapter in the book, The Science of Getting Rich. It's chapter 7. Wallace Wattles wrote the book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. It was the book that was the inspiration for the movie The Secret. And in that chapter, chapter 7, it's called Gratitude. And that chapter describes in detail why gratitude is so important. It basically connects you to the source, the universe, the creator, God, whatever that is that you believe in. And when you get closer to the source, you are closer to creation, you're closer to opportunity, and you're closer to wealth, whether it's material wealth, spiritual wealth, relationship wealth. That is the key, guys. So when you're looking at these opportunities, but if you're looking at these opportunities and you're living in a fearful emotion, just understand your business is not going to actually benefit from you being in that fear-based emotion. It's a natural response, but you have to shift away from it as quickly as you can. And that simple practice of gratitude is your secret weapon to do that. So hopefully you got value out of this. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen. I know I've been trying to put training together actually for my clients, and I'm finding that I still have a lot of stuff to do. So I'm going to try to get as much out in terms of the podcast as I can. If you can leave me a review or rating during this time, that would be greatly appreciated. It allows me to get my message out to more people. And as always, I am encouraging you guys, if you're just trying to figure out where you want to go with your practice right now and maybe how to kind of navigate these waters, there's a coaching link on the bio for this episode. Feel free to reach out to me. It's a completely free call. I'm not going to be trying to sell you anything. It's just to try to help you any way that I possibly can as we go through this very trying time together. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode.